Om Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. O Lord, please lead us from unreality to the reality, from ignorance to the knowledge, and from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Dear devotees, we were discussing Drishya Viveka work. It is one of the wonderful Advaita Vedantic non-dualistic philosophies textbook or introductory manual. Now we were discussing three types of individual self. One is Paramarthika Jiva, means absolute self. Then Vyavaharika Jiva, the waker self or the transactional self. Then Pratibhasika Jiva, that is the dream self. So, after explaining the nature of the waker self, that is Vyavaharika Jiva, and the Pratibhasika Jiva, that is the dream self, now author is trying to explain what is the nature of the absolute self, that is Paramarthika Jiva. So, what is the real nature, or what is the nature of the real self or absolute self? व्यावहारिको जीव यह तत् जगत् व्यावहारिकं सत्यं प्रत्येति मिथ्येति मन्यते पारमार्थिकः. He who is the empirical self sees this empirical world as real, but the real self knows it to be unreal. Means, so here, before getting into it, one of the definition of what is real or unreal, according to Advaita Vedanta, the non-dualistic philosophy, one should understand. So what is the definition of real? According to the non-dualistic philosophy, if you ask, according to them, they define the word real as which exists at all three times, that is past, present, and future. Yesterday, was it there? Yes. 1 year before? Yes. 10 years before? Yes. Before a decade? Yes. Then century before? Yes. Millennium before? Yes. Thousands of years before? Yes. What about now? Whether does it exist now? Yes. Then what about future? So does it exist after short time or long time? If you ask, they will say the answer has to be positive, yes, or affirmative. So that is called Trikala Abhadita Satya, means which exists at all three times. It is called Sat or real or reality. So a person or a thing has to be real according to the non-dualistic philosophy, means it exists at all three times. Now, say for an example, the earth came into existence, say thousands of years before. Before that, it was not there. Now, at present, it is there. But after hundreds of years, we cannot say that. So that means it is not Sat or it is not real. And here the definition of the real has to be attributed or understood that the self is real. The Atman, the consciousness, or the awareness is real. Why? It exists at all three times and also it witnesses all the three states of existence. What are the three states of existence? Sushupti, deep sleep, then Swapna, dream state, and Jagradavastha, that is waking state. And if you see, the self is the only witness of all these three states. Mind is present, for an example, mind is present in the waking state, mind is also active partially in the dream state, but it is completely resting during the deep sleep state. So mind doesn't exist at all three places. Then what about body, this physical body? Waking, actually, waking state is active. In the dream, it is at rest, and in deep sleep also it is at rest. So the self is the only thing exists at all three states. Now the question may come for us, how can you say Swamiji? Because in deep sleep state, we are not aware of it. We are not aware of what? We are not aware of anything. Means the external world or the world transactions, objects, etc. Yes, fine. But we are not aware of anything. We are aware of ignorance. We are aware of lack of consciousness of the world and its objects. So again, we are aware of unawareness also, unawareness about the world and its object. That means self exists. Then what about unreal, which is the world and its experiences, which thousands of years before it is not there, now it is there. Again, after thousands of years, we don't know whether it will be there or not. It may not be there. So that is what unreal. So when we say it is unreal, we should not confuse with asat. Asat means non-existent. The horn of the rare, that is the rabbit, for an example. It is asat, it never exists. So when we say the world is mithya, that is not real, or it is an appearance, that doesn't mean it is asat, means it doesn't exist. No. So there is a one more category which is different from sat and asat, which is called mithya, and the nature of the world is mithya, appearance, according to the Advaita Vedanta. So many people confuse here. So you have to be careful. So the empirical self is well aware that dream world or dream experience is unreal. But how much ever it listens or it hears the Vedanta, still it is unable to understand and accept that even this waking world is also a big dream or it is just an appearance. It is real. The world and its objects and its experiences, everything is real for the transactional self, that is Vyavaharika Jiva or the waker self. Only because it is ignorant of the higher I, that is the self or consciousness or Atman. So only when empirical world transcends its body-mind complex and it reaches or it tunes itself with the higher I, that is pure self or pure awareness or pure consciousness, it can understand that even this so-called waking state or the empirical self is also just an appearance or it is not real. And it is just nothing but projection, the projection of the name and form. Why? Because even this empirical self, Vyavaharika Jiva, has borrowed existence from Paramarthika Jiva. Already we have seen here too how Chidabhasa happens, that reflected consciousness, reflecting medium called mind, how the Sakshi, that is the self reflection, how it falls there and how it starts functioning. And we have taken the help of sun, moon, and the world or earth. All these things we have discussed. So the real self, the absolute self, now the empirical self understands that dream self is unreal, but it thinks that empirical self or about itself is true. Whereas the absolute self, Paramarthika Jiva, the absolute self, is aware that both empirical self and the what you say dream self, both are not true or both are just projection of the mind or it is just an appearance, just like the dream. So this is what the author is trying to tell. So the absolute self is aware in reality that both selves are unreal or just it is an appearance. How to understand this? For an example, blue sky. Oh, beautiful sky. So, for an example, today it is sunny day in Dublin. We are all fine. I had been to Glendalough and had a good trekking. So, we are all enjoyed summer. We are enjoying summer. People of Dublin or Ireland, and we are seeing beautiful blue sky, clear sky, and we are enjoying the blue color and blue sky. But in reality, we all know that the sky is neither blue nor black nor white. It is colorless. Though we know that, but when we see it, it appears that it is a blue, the sky is in blue color, and we enjoy that blue color. So this is what the difference between the knowledge, self-realized person and the ignorant person. The ignorant person sees the blue sky and he thinks that the sky is blue. He accepts, he believes in it. But when he gets the knowledge that sky is, it doesn't have any color. Though after knowing that, but still he perceives that sky is blue, but he doesn't get moved by it actually. So similarly, the absolute self knows this both selves are unreal, or it is just appearance, or it just is a projection of the mind. So it is not moved by these two selves. That is called witness or sakshi or paramarthika jiva. So why should we study Vedanta? Why should we understand all these things? By understanding this, if we can switch over ourselves to the highest nature, which is our true nature, then we will be strong and sturdy. As the greatest teaching of Buddha, this too shall pass. Oh, I've got so many problems, so many difficulties, so many adverse circumstances. Fine. All these things are there. It exists. Fine. Understandable. Acceptable. But it is for whom? It is for your mind, not for you. Because you are self, just pure awareness, pure consciousness. So, all these problems, the dualities, success and failure, good and bad, right and wrong, happiness and unhappiness, all these dualities belongs to mind, but not for the self. So, the moment when we understand this, if we can put into practice, the problems may come and may go, but we are not perturbed. Since we are living in the world, we have to understand this, we have to solve this, we should try to solve this, but we may not get perturbed when we understand this truth. So, this is the greatness of Advaita Vedanta, and this is the efficacy of this great truth. Now, the absolute self is distinguished from the other two jivas, that is, waker self and the dream self. And this absolute self is the real self, and it is identified with Brahman, or its nature is nothing but Brahman or Atman. Means the absolute self is the synonym for Brahman or Atman. So that idea has been confirmed in the verse number 42. Let us try to understand. Paramarthika jivastu brahmaikyam paramarthikam pratyeti vikshate nanyat vikshate tvanrutatmana. But the paramarthika jiva, the absolute self, knows its identity, or it is identical with the Brahman, the self, which is to be real, which is real. He does not see the other, he sees it to be illusory. So when I am identified with Brahman means, again, there are not two things actually, that we should not get confused. I am Brahman and Brahman is I am. I am that Brahman. So there are no two things actually. It is a limitation of the language, that's all. So I is separate and Brahman is separate, we are getting merged. No. Just like Leaf River is merged in the sea. No, not like that. Only there was a ignorance, the ignorance has been removed. Just like there was a 1 acre of land. In between, someone built a wall. Then half acre is one place and other half acre is one place. Now it became two pieces of the land. Or the space has been, divided. It appears that the space has been divided, but actually the space cannot be divided. It appears that because of the wall, that space is divided. Once you remove the wall, then space gets converged or gets merged. We feel that. As transaction, we all speak like that. But in reality, space cannot be divided, space cannot be merged. Why? Because space is one. So similarly, the Brahman or Atman is only one, and that is absolute self, and that is Sakshi, that is Atman, that is existence, that is consciousness, that is Ananda or bliss. So these are all synonyms. We use these terms at different places differently. All these in different places we use one or two of these terms. So we should not get confused. So absolute jiva knows or is aware that it is identical with Brahman, or its nature is existence, Sat, awareness, Chit, Ananda, that is bliss. And whereas it is also aware that this Vyavaharika Jiva, that is the waker self, and the Paramarthika Jiva, that is the dream self, both are unreal, are just their projection of the mind. So it is also aware, just like when this body and mind is sleeping, it assumes the form of dream self, and when the sleep breaks and it comes to transactional world or into this mundane world, then it assumes the form of waker self or the transactional self, Vyavaharika Jiva, but both are unreal or both are just projection. It is very well aware. And see, by studying Advaita Vedanta for a long time, whoever is studying, hearing my Tattvabodha lectures and then Aparokshanubhuti lectures or this Drishya Viveka lectures, which are all available on YouTube, by this time you might have understood that I am the self. I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not the intellect. I am not emotions. Or I am not even the ego, pseudo ego. Then what? I am existence, consciousness, bliss absolute. I am Sat. I am Chit. I am Ananda, Atman, or Sakshi. Fine. This is what the knowledge of the self. It has to be crystallized. It has to be, time and again we have to keep on hearing, Shavana, then Manana, keep on reflecting or recapitulation, then Nididhyasana. We should try to meditate on that. We should reflect and we should get these ideas. We should get firm conviction in our mind, so much so that our understanding should not be wavered. Many times devotees say, or spiritual aspirants say, Swami, when we are hearing the lecture of your Vedantic lectures, we all feel so happy. We feel that we are got elevated, and we feel that we are self, we are not this body, we are not this mind, we are not this world. All these things are appearance and it is projection. Fine. After talk for some time, we are in that good mood, nice. But just a phone call or something happens in my house or in the workplace or one message comes and it disturbs our mind. All the Vedantic knowledge gets evaporated. We forget and immediately we start reacting and we become the victim of the situation or for the people. What should we do? It the Vedanta says that you should keep on practicing. What to be practiced? To be practiced time and again, reading Vedantic scriptures, hearing Vedantic talks, and reflecting upon that time and again. Should be keep on doing so much so that then that idea will be confirmed or convinced. Swami Vivekananda tells. Why should we study Vedanta? By studying Vedanta, you are not going to get any new thing, but you will be dehypnotized. I have been hypnotized by myself as I am the body, I am the mind, I am intellect, I am so and so, I am son of so and so, daughter of so and I am an officer, or maybe what you say, athlete, or business entrepreneur, or CEO of the CEO of the company, whatnot. With all these limiting adjuncts, we have limited ourselves time and again. So many times we have thought and we have hypnotized ourselves and we feel that we are limited. Then what should we do? We should dehypnotize ourselves, thinking time and again, I am the self. I am the self, not the body mind complex, nor any these so called limiting adjuncts or adjectives or upadhis we say in Sanskrit. So we should keep on thinking time and again, constantly for long time. Then what happens? Then this ignorance will be removed, confusions will be removed, doubts will be destroyed. Then when that firm conviction comes, then you will not be wavered. Your understanding will not be shaken. Then whatever situations may come, fine, but you will be strong, steady, and blissful. So what? That's what I say. When you study Advaita Vedanta and when you get established in Advaita Vedanta, what happens? Mentally, there will be change in your mindset. There will be evolution in your mindset from what to so what. What? So what? What? Did he tell me like this? Did he tell about me like this? Oh, is it so? So what? Okay, he or she has criticized me. He or she has made some loose comments on me. Oh, okay. Because all these words are from the mind. It is basically part of the speech or the mind. I am beyond that. That's okay. So it is. We should not gets confused that it is not insensitivity. Rather, it is transcending all these dualities or all the limiting adjuncts. Oh, Swami, someone praises us, someone blames us, so we should keep quiet and we should not react. So it is a state of log of wood then. People may get such type of doubt, no doubt. So it is not the insensitivity, rather it is transcending all these dualities. And of course, whenever is required, then we can react and we can probably prove yourself or we can try to tell what I'm doing and why I'm right, all these things. Yes, of course, when we are living in this world, we may have to do that. But we will not be carried over that, or we not to be carried over by that. Many times what happens? Trying to prove that I am right, or trying to tell that why I am right, by telling will be carried over by thoughts and emotions, will be carried over by people's comments, and we will lose peace. We lose our discrimination, we lose our time and energy, and will be the victim of someone's impressions, of someone's opinions, and someone's beliefs. That should not happen. That is possible when you are firm in the Advaita Vedantic truths. So that's why even Sureshwaracharya, one of the apostle of Adi Shankaracharya, the greatest Advaitic philosopher, he says that this is a lifelong process. This Advaita Vedanta understanding, contemplating, reflecting, and putting into practice is a lifelong process. It is not one day, or it is not 2 day, or it is not 1 month or 1 year course or 1 year work. It is a lifelong work till the complete removal of the ignorance or the doubt. We have to keep on studying, we have to keep on hearing, we have to keep on reflecting and put into practice. Even once you realize who are you may stay in the world, you may continue your profession, you may continue your lifestyle. There is no problem. Why? Because you will have a clarity and you will not be confused, you will not be baffled. So he only plays his role according to the situation and demands effortlessly. Hmm? But he keeps on going to the next situation, but there will be no residue in his mind. That is the important thing. Or in a psychological language, if you want me to put, he will not have any mask. Very important. Many of us we have our own masks, and we keep on trying to hide ourselves behind the mask, and we show something to the world and to the people, to the society. So a realized person will not have any mask. He will be free from all type of mask, all type of limitations, all type of wrong understandings. So the world has a capacity to bind us, to shake us, to disturb us, isn't it? But for a realized person, he is free from all this binding or bondage, so the world cannot bind him. The world cannot shake him. The world cannot disturb him. It is full of independence. It is full of freedom. It is full of blissful nature. It is not insensitive. It is not what do you say, blankness. No, it is with full of positivity. It is full of bliss. It is with full of happiness, and it is with full of freedom and completeness. That is what the state of liberation, as explained in Advaita Vedanta philosophy or Upanishads. So, by knowing the truth and by putting into practice, what happens? We will get out from this loop of problems or loop of chain of cycle of birth and death. That is what happens. So, when we know what real nature, we become Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta means I get liberation, or I attain liberation, or I am liberated person while living in this world, in this physical body. In Semitic religions, even in mythology, in Hinduism, they tell that, oh, after the death, you go to heaven, you go to such and such a world, above worlds, and you will get the moksha or mukti. Or at the time of death, you can get the liberation, a realization. But Advaita Vedanta believes in Jivan Mukti state. While living in this body, while continuing our work and etc., one can be liberated. What a beautiful state. Let me, if you are a cobbler, we will continue our profession. If one is a carpenter, let him continue his profession. If someone is an IT engineer, he or she can continue. He or she is a doctor, let him or her can continue their profession, but with full of freedom and bliss, not with the bondage or slavery to the body, to the mind, to the senses, to the emotions, and to the world. We are all slave, either one or two or all of this. So we should be having freedom. Freedom is not external, freedom is actually internal. Now, the Vyavaharika Jiva and Pratibhasika Jiva, that is the waker self and the dream self, on account of they are the products of the ignorance, we all know that, and they're insentient by nature actually. Now, this body and mind are insentient by nature actually, but still they appear that they are sentient. Mind is very active. Mind is living. Mind is turbulent. We all say that. And this body is also active. We all know that. We feel that. We are experiencing it. How it is. And how these two insentient things can be called as jiva, or which has got a life. How it is. This question is being answered in the 43rd and 44th verse. Let me try to explain. ಮಾಧುರ್ಯ ದ್ರವಶ್ಚೈತ್ಯಾನಿ ನೀರಧರ್ಮಾಸ್ತರಂಗಕೆ ಅನುಗಮ್ಯಾಥ ತನ್ನಿಷ್ಠೆ ಫೇನೆ ಅಪಿ ಅನುಗತಾ ಯಥಾ. The beautiful example author is taking. As such, characteristics of water as sweetness, liquidity, and coldness also appears to inhere in the waves and then also in the foam of which the waves are substratum. So here you have to understand. For an example, now, okay, I will tell the next sloka also, and then I will come to explanation. Sakshis tatha Sachidanandaha sambandhat vyavaharike tadvarena anugachanti tathaiva pratibhasake. Existence, consciousness, bliss are the inherent nature of the sakshin or of the absolute self, which appears to inhere in the waker self on account of relation with the sakshi, and also through its similarity inhere in the dream self. I will give the explanation, then you'll be able to understand. Now, first you assume, you imagine the lake. For an example, today I had been to Glandal Loch. It's a beautiful, in the Wicklow Mountain Range, it's a beautiful lake. We all know that. So imagine you are just on the bank of the lake. It is a huge mass of water is there, huge amount of water is there. Fine. Then there are ripples, waves. So many waves are coming and it is dashing at the bank of the lake. Yes. So, well, at the end of the waves, if you observe, there is a foam or air bubbles or water bubbles are there. Lake, it contains huge water and there are waves. And at the end of the wave, if you see, there is a water bubbles. Now, what is the nature of quality of the water which is in the ocean or anywhere? Generally, it will be cold, the coldness, and the pure water will be sweet in its taste, and fluidity or liquidity. It keeps on moving, the liquidity. These are the main three characteristics of the water: sweetness, liquidness, and the coolness. Fine. Now, you went near the pond or the lake, then the what you say, the water was coming in the form of waves. Then you took some water. You feel so cold, so chill, so pleasant experience. The coldness. Then you drink. You feel so sweetness and that liquidity. You observe the liquidity quality, the coldness, and also sweetness even in the wave. The wave is nothing but water actually, and some mere bubbles are there. If they're children, then they go and try to touch and they try to take water bubbles, and they would like to play. Though the lifespan of the water bubbles is just few seconds or second or fraction of second. If you can get that water bubbles in your hand, what happens? In a fraction of second, it breaks, it bursts. Or if it stays back, again, if you taste it, the water bubbles also taste sweet. The sensation is also cold sensation, and liquidity also you can find in the water bubble. Of course, air is involved there. So the quality of the water, coldness, sweetness, and the liquidity, you could see even in the waves. And all these three qualities you can also see in the form of in the water bubbles also, isn't it? So similarly, so here water, you should take it as pratibhasika jiva, or the absolute self, or the sakshin. Then the waves is nothing but the vyavaharika jiva, the transactional self, or the Veka self. Then what about the foam? Is pratibhasika jiva, that is the dream self. Why? Just like pratibhasika jiva, the dream self, it appears for only few moments or few minutes in the dream only. So that's why even like it is water bubbles, it stays for few fraction of second or few seconds only. So absolute self, the sakshin, has got three. It is not qualities actually, three inherent nature. The inherent nature of the sakshin, or the absolute self, is described as thus. We all know that standard: existence, absolute existence, sat; absolute awareness or absolute consciousness, that is chit; and absolute ananda or absolute that is bliss. So Sat Chit Ananda, that is there, and it is real. The sakshin is real, sakshin is eternal, and it is self-luminous, and it is subject always. We all know that. Now, because of Chidabhasa, that is reflecting medium, which is called mind, the mind or the reflecting medium, then what happens? Just like the water has taken a particular form, and we give the name that as a wave. Is really wave is different from water? No. When you take the water, when you take some portion of the wave into your hand, what happens? You will see that it is nothing but water only. But we feel that water and waves different. When we think, we know that the water has taken the form of wave. It takes the form of wave because of gravitational force and air, whatever. It rises to a particular height and it subsides. Where it got subsided? It got subsided in the water. The water took a particular form. We gave the name by wave, and it got dissolved or subsided in the water itself. So similarly, the absolute self has been reflected on the mind, and the reflected image has been formed. That reflected image is nothing but Vyavaharika Jiva, transactional reality, or the Waker self. When I'm standing in front of the mirror and I'm making some actions, then what happens? Even in the mirror, the image also will be doing actions. So does it mean that the image which is being reflected in the mirror has got life? Can it do the actions? No. Actually, I am doing, and only it is only reflection. So similarly, that Sat Chit Ananda, these are the inherent nature of the absolute self, but it has been reflected in the reflecting medium called mind, and that's the reason which is called the reflected image called Vyavaharika Jiva, the waker self. It is feeling that it exists, it is aware of, it is experiencing the bliss or unhappiness or whatever. All these things, it is appearance, and it is feeling that it is doing. It is the doer and it is the enjoyer. Actually, it is not so. And Sri Ramakrishna gives a beautiful example. For example, in a vessel, you add some potatoes, some carrots, some vegetables, and you light fire. Slowly, slowly, when water gets good amount of heat, slowly, slowly, what happens? The vegetable gets boiled and it comes top and bottom. Sometimes potatoes are coming and going down. Carrot is coming up and it is going down. Then some other vegetables coming up and it is going down. So the vegetables are dancing in the water. If the vegetables think that because of our strength and energy, we are dancing, then the fire says, it is not because of you, my dear, it is because of me. The moment when you withdraw the fire, when you switch off the fire, what happens? All the vegetables goes and settle and they keep quiet. So whatever the dance they were doing, it was not by themselves, it was because of the fire. So similarly, this waker self is active. The waker self is experiencing so many things. The waker self appears that it is sentient, it is luminous, it is aware of something. All these things, this quality and these qualities or these functions, it is because of the absolute self. All these things belongs to absolute self. It is only reflection. Just like when I see my image and when I say like this and all, if I'm doing like these actions, even that actions is reflected on the mirror, and the reflect the image is also, what do you say, dynamic. But actually, is the image is dynamic? No, it is only the person is doing. That's why the image is also looks like dynamic. So that's what the author is saying. Just like the coldness, the fluidity or liquidity, and the sweetness, these are the three qualities which belongs to water, and the water is appearing in the particular form, which is called wave. So wave also contains all these three qualities. That doesn't mean that all these three qualities belongs to wave. No, all these three qualities belongs to water. And actually, wave doesn't have its independent existence. The moment you remove the water, that does wave can exist? No, wave ceases to exist. So that is what even like Vyavaharika Jiva. Why it is appearing as sentient or luminous? It is because of absolute self. Fine. Now, what about the foam or water bubbles? You took some water bubbles and fraction of second or few seconds, it, I mean, broke. Fine. But you feel that still that coldness, liquidity, and sweetness. When you drink that water bubbles, then you feel that sweetness. Again, all these three qualities which is there in the water bubbles, that has been inherent. Again, it has been taken from, or it is from water. It belongs to water actually. And again, water is appearing as water bubbles because of air, fine. But actually, water alone is true. The moment you remove the water, then water bubble ceases to exist. And it is very limited actually. So similarly, the absolute self in the dream, through the mind, again reflecting medium, it is appearing as Pratibhasika Jiva, the dream self. The mind is experiencing eating ice cream. It is forming the object of ice cream. It is experiencing the eating ice cream, and it is also the aware of that action eating. Knower, knowing, and the known, or the doer, doing, and whatever say, the act of doing. All these three things is being played by this. All these three roles are played by whom? It is only mind. Again, that mind gets energy from where? From the absolute self, from the Paramarthika Jiva, or from the Sakshin. So, though the body and mind appears to be sentient, luminous, active, and they feel that they are all aware of it, they know so many things, mind is aware of so many things, we all say that yes, but all these qualities belongs to Sakshi. All, not the dualities, I mean to say. The basically the powerhouse for the body and mind is what? The absolute self. Because of it, as a substratum, it is there. Based on that, body mind is doing its action. Particularly the Vyavaharika Jiva, the waker self, and the what do you say, Pratibhasika Jiva, the dream self is active. The moment when the absolute self is not there, these two selves are ceases to exist. So all these qualities which we see, that all belongs to Paramarthika Jiva. So I am existence, consciousness, bliss, absolute. That belongs to absolute self, not for this other two selves. Then a small question may come. Swamiji, you said water is appearing as water bubble just like because of air. Now, how can you say, and then what about this air? People can think like this. Yes. So when it comes to Paramarthika Jiva is appearing as Vyavaharika Jiva and Pratibhasika Jiva, they are just like air. Because of the air and gravitational force, the wave is formed, the water bubbles are formed. Here they say body. Because of our past actions, we have got this present body, and because of our present actions, we will get the future body. That means Advaita Vedanta, like Hinduism, believes in rebirth. So this is not my last birth. Until otherwise, I have got my realization. Superimposition and desuperimposition, Adhyaropa and Apavada, which is one of the important technique of Advaita Vedanta. We have to understand. If you understand, then you'll be able to understand Advaita Vedantic text. So, what is the characteristic of Atman and Sakshin? How that it has been superimposed on the scene. How the seer's nature has been imposed on scene, and that superimposition has to be negated, it has to be removed, it has to be checked. This has been explained in the 45th verse. That is superimposition, adhyaropa, apavada, that is negation of superimposition. How, what to understand? Just I'll give a simple example. When we are small, we used to play that. In the playground, we used to go and we used to use the sand, and we used to castle, we used to build a castle, or we used to build a house, or we used to build a small temple. Then when parents used to call, hey, come, time is over, come, enough. You come and wash your hands and have your lunch or whatever. Then we used to go. We never used to cry, what will happen to this castle? What will happen to this temple? Or what will happen to this house we have built? Most of the time, laughingly, we used to break that and we used to go. Why? Because it is just unreal. Just for play, just for fun. For sake of fun, we built, we played, we enjoyed, and while going, just we destroyed and we went. So similarly, how much ever we ultimate truth, which is very sublime and which is very subtle. That's the reason the seers of the Upanishads have took an important way, approach to know the truth. What is that? Okay, whatever we know, whatever we experience, the called individual self and the world, we will try to explain what is individual self and what is this world, how they are formed. Slowly, then we will take to the source, which is called self or sakshin or absolute self. So then we give the theory of the how the world is formed or came into existence, the theory of the individual self, the nature and its formation, all these things we tell. We explaining all these things, it is making us to understand that whatever we are thinking that it is right and it is real, it is not so. The reality belongs to not this individual self and the world. The reality belongs to the absolute self or Paramarthika Jiva. So the author or the seers of the Upanishads are taking us from known fact to the unknown, from the gross truth to the subtlest truth, from the physical world to the spiritual world, from the body to the self. So this is what the important technique which has been accepted, which has been followed by Advaita Vedanta, which has been taken from Upanishads. So that technique, if you understand, then you'll be able to understand Advaita Vedantic teachings. Laye fenasya tadharma dravadyaha स्युः तरंगके तस्यापि विलये नीरे तिष्ठति yete yathapura. With the disappearance of the foam in the wave, its characteristics such as fluidity, sweetness, and coldness merge in the wave. Again, with the appearance of the wave in the water, these characteristics merge as before in the water. Means from the water, the waves were formed, and from the this water bubbles were formed. Fine. When the water bubbles got disappeared, or when it got, I mean, when it gets break, what happens? It goes back to the waves. From waves it came, and it goes back to the waves. When it goes back to the waves, all these three qualities also merged in the waves. And again, waves were formed, it traveled and it rised, and again it is subsiding. And it subsided. Where did it go? Where did it get merged? It came from water, it stayed in the water, and it got merged in the water. Then what about the qualities, the three qualities, sweetness and liquidity and the coldness? All these three things of the wave also got merged in the water. From water, the waves got raised, took birth, they existed in the water, and they got merged in the water. So similarly, the water bubbles got appeared or took birth in the waves or in the water, it stayed in the waves or in the water, and it got merged in the waves or in the water. So that is what from the Paramarthika Jiva, the Vyavaharika Jiva, and the Partibhasika Jiva appeared, projected, stayed, existed, and got merged. That is what we are saying. That means Paramarthika Jiva, the self, absolute self, or the Sakshin, or the seer number three, according to the Drig, Drishya, Viveka. If you remember my earlier classes, that is the only true thing. That is what the author is telling. So this is the main technique author is using it. So basically the author is going in reverse order. From water, waves formed, from waves, water bubbles formed. Now water bubbles got merged in the waves and waves got merged in the water. So he is going to in the reverse order. So all these three qualities of the bubbles are merged in the waves. All the three qualities of the wave is also got merged in the water. So similarly, so many names and forms has been rose. Forms has been arised, and we gave different names based on the forms. And what happens? Then again it gets merged. Just like golden bangles, for example, golden ornaments. From the we got a maybe 100 grams of gold. From that one we did a chain, we got a bracelet, we got earrings, we got a nose ring. Fine. From gold, so many types of ornaments we made, and because of its functionality and different form, we give different names. We use that names as a transactional reality. But when we want money, we went and sold that with the goldsmith, then he put in the fire and he got melted, and it became again a lump of gold, and he used that lump of gold for something else. So all these ornaments came from gold. We used it as, and when we don't want, again, what happened? The goldsmith melted it, and again it went back to the gold. So it came from gold, it existed in the gold, and it got merged or disintegrated in the gold. Means gold alone is real, the ornaments are appearance, or it is just a projection. Means it is all different forms and different names. These names and forms are not real. The original content of the substance or the object is what real. That's why I think Upanishad says, Vacharambano vikaro namadeyam mrittikaseva satyam. The clay, the substance clay alone is true. By that we make pot, we make vase, we make plate, we make glass, we make water. Different objects can be made. Based on different shapes and different forms, we give different names. But finally, when you merge that, when it gets disintegrated, again, only clay remains. So name and form, we are always obsessed with the name and form. Name and form is an only appearance. The main content, object is real. So similarly, the absolute self or the witness or the sakshi or atman or brahman, it is only real. And whatever the appearance, waker self, dream self, and the world, they have got just name and forms, but actually, and it came or it arose, it took birth from the self, it stayed in the self, and again it got disintegrated, it got merged in the self. Means self alone is real, and all others are appearance. This is what the author is trying to tell. And for an example, at the time of dissolution, what happens? Even all the subtle bodies gets disintegrated. At the time of death, this body gets disintegrated, isn't it? This body gets disintegrated, then dream self is also not there actually. or Vyavaharika Jiva, that is the waking self, is not there. Why? Because this body is not there. The only Sukshma, subtle body is there. It cannot understand. Now, the meaning, whatever we discussed, it has been still more further discussed, elaborated in the last verse. Let us try to see. Pratibhasika jivasya laye syuhu vyavaharike tat laye artalaye sachidanandaha paryavasanti sakshini. With the disappearance of the dream self in the waking self, the existence, consciousness, bliss merge in the empirical self. When that also disappears, these characteristics finally merge in Sakshin. Means again, that's what water has been water has been appearing as a wave is appearing as a foam, water bubbles got merged in the wave got merged in the water. From Paramarthika Jiva, absolute self, Vyavaharika Jiva came into existence, that is empirical self. From empirical self, dream self came into existence. Then dream self got merged in the empirical self got merged in the absolute self. So absolute self is only real, it only exists. So when we wake up from the dream, what happens? The dream self or the Pratibhasika Jiva resolves into the waking self, that is Vyavaharika Jiva. Fine. But when I understand, or when the death comes, or when the dissolution of this universe comes, then what happens? Even this called transactional self, or the empirical self, or the waking self also gets merged. During the deep sleep we experience. In the deep sleep, we are not aware of the empirical self. It got merged there actually. At least it is for time being. In the dissolution of the universe, all the empirical selves gets disintegrated or gets it goes into the dormant form, in the subtle form, through the subtle body. And when we get a moksha or mukti, so our even this physical body is left over, no doubt, and the subtle body gets merged in the causal body, the causal body gets merged in the self and self alone exists, then I will not be able to take any more birth and death. So again, Paramarthika Jiva, absolute self alone is true, or it alone exists. All other things are just, it is an appearance. It is a transactional self, a transactional reality. It is not the absolute reality. So the Sakshi is eternally present and it has no birth and death. Only birth and death belongs to body and mind. This is what we have to understand. That means many things come and goes, many birth and death come, births and deaths, life and death comes and goes for body and mind, but not for the self. Self is beyond birth and death. Self has no more birth and death. Self is eternal. Self is never the object. It is the always subject. It is changeless and it is ancient. So this we have to understand. When we understand this, then that means we are aware of our nature. Then our ignorance, delusion, or what you say, wrong understanding, wrong cognitions are removed and destroyed. Then what happens? I was happy. My real nature is happy. Then I will be well established in the happiness, and nothing will be shaken. So this ends the, what do you say, Drishya Viveka, 46th verse, 46 verses we have discussed with the grace of the Lord and all the Guru Parampara and teachers. In the next class, I will try to summarize all these 46 verses in the nutshell. Then afterwards, I am planning to take Swami Vivekananda's Jnana Yoga lectures. It's a beautiful lectures. The whole essence of Vedanta has been put in a few lectures, and which is very much relevant and at the modern times, and that too he gave in the West. So keeping the Western audience in the mind, he has given. It is a wonderful subject for study. With the Guru Maharaj's grace and with the grace of Swami Vivekananda, we shall try to take Swami Vivekananda's Jnana Yoga lecture after the completion of the discussion on the summary of Drishya Viveka next week probably. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.